All right, welcome back. It's Bears Nation podcast. It is Friday, January 12th. Big day. Happy birthday to Kevin Lapka. 2-4.
Thank you.
Young boy, my
Thank
son. And there's it's news, but it's like expected news. Nothing that's like earth shattering. I do have some takes, as I do usually.
I'd hope so.
And a tweet that I would like to read as well later when it comes up. But Matt Eberflus is retained. Luke Getsy and other offensive assistants are fired. And it looks like it's going to get run back. The Justin Fields, Matt Eberflus connection, if you will.
Think so?
Partnership. So I'll get to the tweet right now. And it's from our friend of the BetQL network, Connor Allen, 4for4, does a lot of awesome stuff breaking down the NFL. And he had a tweet the other day. Let me find it as I filibuster here. But anyway, he had a tweet kind of about the Bears. He's in Chicago. He's a Chicago guy. And okay, now I went back too far, I think. Yeah, I did. Come on. You can do it, Jake. This is really, really good podcast.
Connor Allen is, what does he do?
He's an NFL analyst and a 4for4. He's a friend of the BetQL network.
Draft guy or anything like that?
Draft, everything.
Okay,
here it is. And so this is a reason that I think that the Bears are going to run it back with Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus for this next season. This would be their third season together. Justin Fields obviously would have a new offensive coordinator, did 2 years with Luke Getsy. We all know how that went. And we've talked about on this show a lot the cycle of the Bears and what they do of hiring a coach who thinks he can work with a quarterback, and then the assistants get scapegoated, and then there's one more year, and then the coach gets fired, and the coach gets to draft a quarterback, and then on and on and on it spins, and it never works out. Starting in 2011, Jerry Angelo was the general manager of the Chicago Bears until 2011. Phil Emery replaced him in 2012. Despite this change, Phil Emery kept head coach Lovie Smith and quarterback Jay Cutler. Lovie finished that season 10-6, famously was fired. Mark Trestman was brought in under Emery, was able to hire his guy, kept quarterback Jay Cutler. Phil Emery and Mark Trestman lasted 2 more years until 2014. Both were fired. In 2015, Ryan Pace was hired. He also hired John Fox to be the head coach, kept Jay Cutler still. They finished 6-10. The Bears proceeded to go 3-13 in 2016. Terrible season. The Bears still kept John Fox, drafted Mitch Trubisky. Jay Cutler was excommunicated. Obviously, that didn't go great. John Fox was fired in 2017. Matt Nagy was hired as the head coach. Mitch Trubisky lasted as the team's quarterback from 2017 to 2020. Nagy was his head coach the entire time. Bears moved on from Trubisky in 2021. Obviously, traded up to draft Justin Fields, but once again, kept head coach Matt Nagy. Ryan Pace was fired the following season along with Matt Nagy. Bears hired Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, kept Justin Fields. Now, everybody stays. So I think that the Bears know this.
You'd hope so.
You would hope. So I did go back and forth on this. Like, okay, well, the Bears keep doing the same thing that they always do and draft a new quarterback and keep everybody else. Or will they break the mold for once, give everyone one more chance, and then Ryan Poles, because I still believe that even if this upcoming season does not go well with Matt Eberflus and Justin Fields, I still believe that Ryan Poles will have a lifeline of saying, well, I still was not able to do a full head coaching search. Famously, he was presented 3 candidates, which were Jim Caldwell and Matt Eberflus, and I forget who the third one was right now off the top of my head.
Someone uninspiring.
Right, correct. So, and he wasn't able to do a full search and was, inherited Justin Fields. So I think Ryan Poles still has the opportunity if this season does not go well. And I do think that the Bears have a path to 9-10 to even 11 wins if they do things the right way, which my point being that I think that the Bears will, knowing this, say, all right, we're going to run it back. And if it doesn't go well, clean slate with Ryan Poles, because Ryan Poles still, even if Matt Eberflus and Justin Fields don't work out, again, he didn't draft Justin Fields. He could say, all right, hey, I missed on Matt Eberflus, but, my drafting acumen as far as players has still been pretty solid. So give me one more shot with the head coach. Let me draft a quarterback. And then, if give me 2 more seasons, maybe even 1, and then make your decision. So that's my thinking. I could be wrong, obviously, but just knowing the Bears and how things go, That's just kind of how I'm feeling about this. I think that I think that everything that's been said, and Ryan Poles got up there in his press conference and he said basically the same exact line that he did last year was, we're going to keep all our options open. If I'm blown away and an opportunity presents itself, then we'll make some decisions. But, we have a tremendous opportunity with the number 1 overall pick.
Beat around the bush.
So, yeah, exactly. So you have to hire a new offensive coordinator, and Poles got up there and said, oh, well, we're going to ask all the candidates, what they think of each quarterback and blah, blah, blah. So I just think that the writing is on the wall, though, that with Eberflus back, and to me, again, I could be wrong, but to me, indicates that Justin Fields is also coming back.
Agree.
The band is coming back. One more ride. If you don't win at least 9 games next year, then everybody gets fired. Ryan Poles gets to bring this thing back and try again with a head coach and do a full extensive search. Could be wrong. That's just the feeling I'm getting.
I mean, and what you're talking about with Ryan Poles and how he, because I'm still of the belief that if they're a losing team next year, that means they made the wrong decision. Like if they're a losing team next year, they made the wrong decision. Probably things went wrong, and he might be on the hot seat if that happens. But he can extend his life only if, like if you draft Caleb Williams and he has a Bryce Young-esque year 1. You might be fired, dude. Like, I know you think drafting the quarterback number 1 overall brings you insurance, but if you draft Caleb Williams, he struggles, and Justin Fields thrives somewhere else, you're fired, dude. Sure. Like, but if you trade that 1st overall pick, and it is at the top of his mind of, look what I got from it last year. Look what I got. I got multiple first rounders. I got the first rounder next year. I got an impact player in DJ Moore. That's at the front of his mind. He knows he's good at negotiating these deals, and he knows that the expected return for the pick this year is significantly greater than when it was last year, given the nature of Caleb Williams and the belief of his abilities around the league.
And if anything, you have teams that are even more desperate than the Panthers were, or let's say that they're the same level of desperation. There's more of those teams. At least it feels like it.
Right. And the ton of teams need quarterbacks, especially in that top 10. So I just think it makes way too much sense to do what you're talking about, break the mold. And I know people are so hung up on same old Bears, same old Bears. Bears are going to Bears. That's all you see on Twitter. Bears are going to Bears. This is just what they do is what they do. I don't know, because I do have faith in Ryan Poles. I trust Ryan Poles. And if you're somebody out there who trusts Ryan Poles, then I would trust him to do something different than what the organization has done. And I know Kevin Warren got up there in the press conference.
To be fair, doing something different would have been firing Matt Eberflus.
Sure.
And I tweeted this half joking. I think that Ryan Poles thought about firing Matt Eberflus, especially giving all the turnover and turmoil we're seeing in the NFL right now, as far as coaches go. And that orange bat phone rang, and George McCaskey's on the other line said, "Mom said no." Like that's what I believe happened.
I don't know.
How can you make, like, you came up to me in this office the other day and you said, "What do you think?" Like, there's a lot of silence. And I was like, I think they're going to do the same thing. I think there was discussion, but look at what happened. They made this decision. Mike Vrabel was then let go from Tennessee. And also the Patriots aren't hiring him, because the Patriots are hiring Jared Mayo.
It already happened.
It literally happened this morning. So Mike Vrabel's without a job. A guy who won Coach of the Year 2 years ago and was handed a lame duck situation in Tennessee. Like, and the Bears decided to keep Matt Eberflus.
Right.
I would hear the argument for not hiring Bill Belichick. Fine, whatever. Mike Vrabel is an awesome coach.
Top 5 coach in the NFL.
You have people in Philadelphia, fans in Philadelphia, wanting Nick Sirianni gone so that Mike Vrabel will be hired. Not going to happen, but like, it's just that to me is Bears are going to Bears.
Well, yeah,
they were like, oh, we're going to see. Like, Virginia said, oh, well, Matt's a nice boy. We don't want to fire him.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, what do they? I mean, they like. I don't know.
That's Bears are going to Bears.
I think the justification. I think there is justification, and we'll dive into this. But I think full Bears being Bears would be if they do it like you read the tweet. If they do it again, that's full Bears being Bears. I have reasons to believe that it will be different from the aspect of building around a quarterback for once, actually building a team around one guy, going all in around one guy instead of restarting the cycle and going over and over with another rookie who's going to struggle and the head coach is going to get fired. I think things will be different because of the people that are in that building from that aspect. Now, the coaching aspect, clearly, and I cannot be one to speak against this because this is something that means a lot. Clearly, when they did these exit interviews, and of course, Eberflus was in on the exit interview, so who knows how transparent the players could be about Eberflus's performance.
Sure.
But clearly, he's built a culture that Bears players have bought into, which I thought was not the case at the beginning of the year. I thought he was on the verge of losing the locker room. Clearly, the players like him.
We thought he was going to get fired.
We thought he was going to get fired. I said like a number. I think I said like 5 different weeks of the season. Oh, he's going to get fired this week and this week and this week. And he was able to bring them together and build a culture and a team of the hits principles bullshit. Like I know, but these guys have been playing hard. They're buying into what he's teaching. That's always step one. The culture and buying in is always step one. And if you don't have that, you're never getting anywhere. They do have that. Now, here's the problem. The problem is the Bears, in this case, are happy with Eberflus, and that's okay. But look at the other team in a different sport in town. They could have been happy with David Ross, the Chicago Cubs. They went out there and they fired him and hired one of the best managers in the MLB. So the Bears are missing, they may be content, and that's fine, but you're missing out on better, and you're not doing your due diligence on better. We know from Ryan Poles' mouth, they did not even talk to Jim Harbaugh. They didn't reach out to him, and that dude's not going. Do you think
that's true? Because
you think they're lying, or you think that there's no interest from Harbaugh and they're lying because there was no interest from Harbaugh?
I think that either Jim Harbaugh is about to get a lifetime contract for Michigan. Okay. Especially given, again, the state of college football and what's happening. Like Nick Saban's gone, the Witch of the West is gone, East, whatever. And like, I think they're about to hand him a lifetime contract. Like, you just won a national championship. Let's win $1 billion more.
Sure.
Or Ryan Poles was sparing Matt Eberflus's feelings up there.
I don't think so. I mean, it would that be tough.
It would be tough to get asked that question. Your guy is sitting right next to you, and you're just like, yeah, called him right away. Like, I don't know. It's like, because you saw Matt Eberflus's face when that question was asked. He was hurt that question was even asked.
I didn't see it.
Like he was just like,
Matt Eberflus said in his post-game press conference at the Packers game, he was uncertain of his future. So he shouldn't be uncomfortable by that question.
Up there,
yeah, when you're up there, it's like, I mean, it's not easy. Tough. It's not easy. It's tough. Yeah. But
because doesn't that make you feel like, like maybe they reached out and it didn't work out, so they're like, all right, we'll just go back to this guy.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, look, I think they're missing out on the opportunity here because I don't know if Pete Carroll's going to go. I think he's staying in Seattle.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be.
He'll be in a front office.
He'll be in a front office position, and he's old. I get that. Belichick is a toss-up. I'm not sure. I mean, I imagine he'll go to another team, but we don't know.
No,
but when it comes to he
definitely
okay. But when it comes to people. I have a lot of friends who are Patriots fans. People think he's cooked
if he went anywhere.
People think he's cooked, but
right.
Vrabel
he
and
wants
Harbaugh
to rehabilitate his image.
Yeah, I mean, but those two names alone, you have to do your due diligence. Yeah. You have to
100%.
Dial the phone number to Mike Vrabel and say what would be your interest in being the head coach of the Chicago Bears. The Tennessee Titans are, not a charter franchise. Yeah. Again, we talk so much about this. People want to be a part of this organization. They just do. Although it comes with pressure and criticism, it also comes with glory and honor and pride. And to be the coach that, like we talked about this with Justin Fields, to be the quarterback, to take the Bears to the Super Bowl, to be the coach that takes the Bears to the Super Bowl, like you'll never be forgotten in this. If you win one playoff game, you eat free at every Chicago restaurant for the rest of your life. Like that's how desperate we are. So I know people are burning house hall on fire that they kept Matt Eberflus. That's not me. I do think they missed out on better and they didn't do the due diligence on getting better, but I'm not going to, to me, it's not the end of the world when it comes to retaining Matt Eberflus, because I think we talked about this right afterwards.
You have to nail the OC.
You have to nail the OC. And if you do, like people are so bent out of shape about like, oh, if you just hire the OC, he's gonna get hired by another organization. You don't know that. We said that about Luke Getsy. Like we don't know that. You can't like scratch names off of a list because you think they're gonna get hired the next year.
Well,
like,
and also because I mean, some of these coaches are probably like, if you're an OC, you might be hoping that happens, because if things don't go well and you don't win games, but you're an awesome OC, you might get hired while everyone hired somewhere else when everybody else is getting fired. Yeah. Like it's not likely, but it could happen.
That's a good point too.
Like you might have 1 year with these guys anyway.
Right. You might, if they decide to, clean house next year. Is that what you're saying? Like if they were
you might have 1 year. Like if you go 8-9 again, everybody might get fired anyway.
Right. That's a very fair point. I just think you have something clearly that is working or was working for the final. And I know the Packers game is its own thing. It was working, and and this is why I agree with you about keeping Justin Fields, because they went up to that press conference and they bred continuity the entire time. They fed that to you. They said continuity. We saw growth. We got better. Let's do the same thing we're doing. New offensive coordinator, make Luke Getsy the scapegoat, which they totally did, which is valid and warranted to an extent. Sure. You know, you never want to throw a guy under the bus, but in that situation, especially the Green Bay game, it was warranted. So you're, preaching continuity. How do you draft a quarterback if you're preaching continuity? Right? If that's your case, and here's the other thing. We talk about these exit interviews, and we talk about how much they mean to the organization. Clearly, they take that seriously. I can guarantee you, and I think we talked about this on the postgame show, a question on the exit interview was thoughts on Justin Fields' leadership. Maybe not like, would you like to see him back? Not going to ask him that, but there was definitely questions centered around Justin Fields. And we know that every player probably walked into that room and gave a glowing review of Justin Fields. Sure. And made their stake, placed their stake on wanting him back. Specifically, guys like DJ Moore and Jaquan Brisker and Kyle Gordon, Jalen Johnson, who have been outspoken about Justin and wanting him to return. So if you have all of your guys coming into the exit interviews and you're collecting all this data and they're all so one-sided about it in support, and now you're preaching continuity to go and keeping the head coach, who we believe likes Justin Fields, to go and draft a quarterback is the opposite of continuity. Sure. It's a backwards move for what you want to do and what your vision is for this team in the next 3 years. So I don't think they're going to do it. I think there's a lot of people who have been saying that they thought the press conference and what we've heard makes them believe that they're more likely to draft Caleb Williams. I haven't interpreted that at all, but that seems to be where it's going. And if they hire the right OC, I'm okay with the path the Bears are taking for now.
That you have to nail the OC. Like you have to get Bobby Slowick.
You want to do names? Let's do names.
Sure.
Bobby Slowick's not going to be an OC for a different team.
No. I mean, like, you have to get like the next version of him, is what I mean.
Okay.
Like, you have to get the next Slowick.
Let's do names because this is happening soon. So, I mean, they've already placed interviews.
So there's a list of 14 names that The Athletic put out. Let me find it really
Wait, did the Bears have contacted?
No, like potential guys.
Let's preface who first the Bears have interviewed. Or requested an interview. They've requested to interview Shane Waldron, Seahawks offensive coordinator, and they've requested to interview Clint Kubiak, passing game coordinator for the 49ers, previously offensive coordinator of the Vikings for 2021. But let's hear this list from The Athletic of guys that they think could be potential candidates, because I have some names and I want to see if it matches up.
Well, I want to start with Clint Kubiak then.
Okay.
Since they requested to interview him. So Kubiak, 49ers passing game coordinator, he's 36. And in the NFL, the new thing is get somebody from the McVay, LaFleur, Shanahan tree. And Kubiak is directly tied to that because he works for Kyle Shanahan. And here's the thing. So worked in 2016 with the Broncos, retained by Vance Joseph after Kubiak's dad was fired, rejoined his dad in Minnesota as the Vikings quarterback coach in 2019. Kubiak,
offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And then he worked under Kevin Stefanski, who then went on, obviously, to be the head coach of the Browns. Gary Kubiak became the offensive coordinator for the Browns after Stefanski left. 2021. Then Clint Kubiak went back to the Vikings, become their offensive coordinator. That season, Kirk Cousins passed for 4,221 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, a 103.1 passer rating.
Huge year.
Then spent a year on Nathaniel Hackett's staff of the Broncos, but
not a good look.
But then was rehired by Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And in this system where Brock Purdy was the MVP favorite for a long time.
Yeah.
So he's somebody for me who's like near the top of my list, because is working directly with Kyle Shanahan, directly with the 49ers, is young. He's not my top, but he's a guy who I'm like, okay, like this is appealing. Like this makes sense. Another one for me, Mike LaFleur. Matt LaFleur's younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like
is he with the Packers?
No, he's with the Rams.
Okay.
He's their offensive coordinator. He's the Rams OC. So he is directly underneath Sean McVay, which we all, you see the graphic, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, they're all in the graphic. We see it every NFL season. And now,
why would he leave the Rams for the Bears?
Well, like you say, like if there's an opportunity, like all the credit goes to McVay for what they do.
Yeah.
Like McVay gets all of that credit.
That's true.
Now, like if McVay retires, which he's indicated he's not going to, but like if they win the Super Bowl and McVay retires, you got to think LaFleur's like the next guy up. But if there's an opportunity to rehabilitate Justin Fields' image and make him, a viable top 10 NFL quarterback and take the Bears to the playoffs, that's even better. You're getting hired, like regardless. So those are two guys where I'm like,
okay.
So those are two for me that are like at the top of my list. But anyway, the rest of the guys on this list from The Athletic.
I'm going to stop you when I hear a good name. Go.
Okay, this is one that I absolutely don't want, have no interest in. We don't have to spend like any time. Greg Roman, no thanks. Don't want it, don't need it.
Why not? The fall off in Baltimore was bad?
Yeah, like it's like, hold on, let me read this to you. It was
one MVP.
Greg Roman.
Lamar. Yep.
Right, but he's great with rushing offenses. Top 5 rushing offense in every season, but one that he's been out with C.
We're already good at that.
The problem is his best passing offense ever in his career, a very long career in the NFL. Best passing offense ever was 13th in 2021 with the Ravens.
That's exactly why they'll hire him.
His second best passing offense was 23rd. That's his second best season with a passing game. 23rd in the NFL. No thanks. Don't want it. Next on the list, I could see it, but and there's an easy connection to the Bears. I don't think I want this either. Frank Reich.
No.
Don't think I'm interested.
Can't have it.
Eberflus worked under Reich. This would be a complete flip. And I see the connection, and that's what scares me about this, because we know how much the Bears value those kind of connections. So that scares me, but I'm not interested in Frank Reich.
And people, the reason why people are high on Frank Reich is because he wanted CJ Stroud, and the Panthers, David Tepper stepped in and said, we're taking Bryce Young. But apparently Frank Reich really wanted CJ Stroud, and people believe that he didn't really give Bryce Young a fair shot in Carolina because the guy he really wanted was Stroud. So people are kind of giving him grace for the failure that existed in Carolina.
Right. And I mean,
but I don't know. That seems a little bit.
Sell me on it, but yeah, I don't know.
So like, what are as we go through these names too, like what are the qualities you're looking for? Because here's the things that I'm kind of looking for in OCs with this particular team. I don't think you can take a risk. I don't know if you can take a risk on a guy who hasn't called plays before. That's my main scary thing that I want to stay away from, because you tried that. I don't think Getsy called plays in Green Bay. Was still LaFleur, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're and from what we know, Nagy wasn't involved in calling plays at all in Kansas City. I think there was a time where they might have switched to him before he became the head coach of the Bears because they were struggling.
It was the last
couple games.
It was the last couple games, and I think in the playoffs.
And that was the year that they lost Tennessee with Tannehill or Mariota or
Vrabel,
right?
Tannehill,
with Vrabel. So again, I like get a guy who's done it before, especially if you are keeping Justin. And here's the question I'll ask you too: Does the guy you hire, like, will you be able to indicate if that means that they're keeping, like, will that have any sort of meaning as to whether they're keeping Justin or drafting quarterback based on who they hire, right? Like, if they hire a Frank Reich, I'd have to guess, okay, veteran guy, worked a lot of quarterbacks, probably keeping Fields. Yeah. Maybe if they hire the young, like, Michael LaFleur would be a good name, but other guys like that, like the passing game coordinator who's never called plays before, that might tell you that they're trying to bank on finding the next McVay with a younger quarterback, right? Is there any correlation?
I don't think so, because I think in both instances, because I think also for like a young guy trying to make his name, I think there's appeal there of like, everybody thinks Fields is a bum. If I turn him into a top 10 quarterback, that looks great for me. So I think there's appeal there. I think there's appeal to your situation, your scenario as well. But I think, so to answer your question, no, I don't think it indicates any which way, really. I mean, you could sell me on it once it happens, but I don't think so. I'd be surprised. I guess I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't read too much into the name. But so like, you want Eric Bieniemy then? Is he the number one guy for you? Or is it Kellen Moore?
So I've heard some weird things. Kellen Moore is not. Kellen Moore. God, I totally did not think about that. That's a name that I didn't think about. he's not going to get the Chargers job.
Right.
I don't think.
Because
I didn't
Belichick's
think about
probably
that.
going there.
Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore was dealt a rough hand in LA this year. So let's be honest with that. I am unsure. I've heard some things about Bieniemy players not liking him or something, but the connection is there. But as far as calling plays, having experience, he fits that bill.
Only did it this season. He didn't do it in Kansas City. On the flip side, Kellen Moore called plays in Dallas, called plays this year with the Chargers. What made him like a rising star in Dallas? Dallas had the top offense in 2019 and 2021.
Why is no one talking about him?
Because they think he might get the job.
Okay. Because have they?
He hasn't been fired yet.
Yeah, but have they interviewed him? Like, I guess he hasn't been fired yet.
He interviewed yesterday, I think.
But like, if they bring in Belichick's not keeping Kellen Moore. That dude's bringing in. I mean, I don't know. He's probably going to bring in all the guys that he wants. He'll bring in his son.
Okay, what if it's Jim Harbaugh?
Maybe we'll have to see about that. But so there's where you're throwing a wrench into this whole thing. Is it appears the Bears want to like swiftly move through this, which is
the NFL,
why
the NFL stops you from that though.
Well, because you have to wait until they have the division around. But like if that decision for the Chargers doesn't get made for a while,
I do understand the Bears wanting to get this done quickly because you want this settled so you can start prepping for the draft.
Yeah, well, sure, but like, dude, you have so much time. Like, don't make a rush decision. Don't do your due diligence, go through it the proper way. Don't just do it quickly to get the guy in the building. You have time. You're fine. Wait to see same with Eberflus. You didn't have to make that decision immediately. You could have waited until today after you know that Belichick's released, or resigned, whatever the fuck he did. After you know that Pete Carroll and Mike Vrabel was fired and Harbaugh and all these, why did we have to make this decision now? That good organizations don't do that. But I forgot. So Kellen Moore, great. That name is at the top of the list if it becomes available. Here's the other thing I'll ask you when it comes to these OC candidates. How much of the conversation in the interview process is willingness to work with Justin Fields and willingness to work with Caleb Williams? And what's your viewpoint on Caleb Williams if you've scouted him? And what's your viewpoint on Fields? Is that that has to be question one? Yeah. Does it not?
Has to be.
Has to be.
So I don't think the Bears are going to make a decision let's say it's Kellen Moore. And I don't think that if he says, I'm not a huge fan of Justin Fields, I don't think they're going to be like, all right, get out. I do believe that the Bears are at this point on January 12th. I do believe that they're still in an evaluation period or whatever. I think they're open to either option. You and I believe that they're going to run it back with Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus. But I could go either way. If they don't, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's what they're going to do. But I think when they're talking to these guys, I agree. I think it's question one, but I think they're taking account for all answers. I don't think anybody's getting scratched off the list if they say they like Caleb Williams better than Justin Fields, or vice versa. If they say they like Justin Fields better than Caleb Williams, I think it's part of the equation, but I don't think it's a defining factor. I think whoever they hire, I think then they will decide. I don't think the Bears have made the decision on the quarterback already, and that's influencing who they hire. I think who they hire is going to influence what they do with the quarterback. Regardless, I believe that they're going to run it back with Fields, but I don't think it's the quarterback. The quarterback decides. So the quarterback situation decides the OC. I think the OC is going to have a hand in deciding what to do at quarterback, which I ultimately believe, and you believe, that will be Justin Fields.
So here's where the incongruency comes in, because we heard Ryan Poles and Matt.
You must be 24 or something. That was a big word.
I mean, we elevating. We've been reading a lot more in this new year news resolutions. We hitting the books. I'm trying to read more too. It's great, and I love it. Yeah. I love it. Anyway. You can't be using your phone before bedtime. Real bad for your sleep. Just FYI. The incongruency here is this: Ryan Poles said we're taking this thing to April. He said we're taking this QB discussion to April. But if that's what you're saying, that if the OC is essentially deciding what is going to happen with the quarterback, then you're not taking it to April. You'll know immediately once you hire the OC, and the fans won't know because they're not going to disclose it, but internally they'll know, right? Isn't that what you're implying? Is that if you hire an OC who's all in on Justin Fields and it's okay, let's spend the 4 months, because here's the other thing too. You're not Justin Fields has to learn a new system. So if you are committing to Justin Fields and you're hiring the OC in 2 weeks, internally, again, we won't know this. I would like them to say, we're all in on Justin Fields internally. let's get you into Hallis Hall, Justin, in February, and let's have you start learning this shit
have
now.
to do that.
Like,
Yep,
why wait until April when you could learn the system from the jump with the new OC? So again, I think that this is going to be a very telling aspect of this whole process when it comes to drafting a quarterback. And here's another really interesting thing. As we're talking about this, I just got an email from our boss here at 670 The Score, Ryan Porth, and he sent us a tweet from Kalen Kaler, who's the senior NFL writer for The Athletic. It's Friday, January 12th. Caleb Williams has not yet declared for the NFL draft. Okay, the deadline to declare is Monday, January 15th. This is from her tweet. On Wednesday, she says, quote, I called Carl Williams, Caleb's dad, to ask why the delay, question mark. He referred to me to their publicist, who declined to comment until everything is, quote, buttoned up. Caleb skipped his bowl game, but hasn't said anything about his draft intentions. It was Lincoln Riley who announced Caleb wouldn't play. The two other QBs rounding out the top 3 in the 24 class, Jake May and Jay Daniels, both announced they'd be declaring for the draft at the same time. They announced on social media they'd be skipping their bowl games. So weeks ago, Marvin Harrison just declared.
Who did we do this with last year though?
Quarterback?
Yeah, who drafted?
Was it Bryce?
It was
CJ.
It was Stroud.
CJ
right?
was heavily considering going back.
It was like the same thing. It was like I want to say it was like the same. Like it was 3 days before the deadline. It was the weekend before the deadline, and everyone was like, "Well, is he actually going to do?" I remember we had this exact same conversation, and then look what happened.
Right, but look, I'm not saying this is a big deal, but it's just interesting. It's fascinating, and it kind of goes into like some of the questions I have about Caleb, about like, you know, the equity and the ownership thing, if those things are real, and who knows? I don't know. We don't even have to get in. It's G Station. Yeah, it was CJ. We don't have to get into all that. Yeah. But it definitely is certainly an interesting aspect of this. But yeah, so just let's make it known. When any other names on the list? Can we do that real quick?
Yeah,
because I got a name that.
Let's go. It stuns me really. Jim Caldwell is somehow still on this list. Bieniemy, Reich, Roman did those. Thomas Brown, the Panthers offensive coordinator.
What? The Panthers offensive coordinator?
So the hell? The thinking being, he comes from the Shanahan McVay tree.
I don't care. He was
the Rams assistant head coach the last 2 years before this, and like the fact that he was retained after Reich was fired.
No.
Like players apparently love him, and
They scored 0 points week 17.
Was named one of the top 5 awesome offensive coordinators as voted by players.
Okay. No. All right. Next.
Caldwell, Moore, talked about them. We didn't talk about Caldwell, but we're not going to. Darrell Bevel, the Dolphins quarterbacks coach.
Everyone loves Darrell Bevel.
And he was up for the Bears job before, like a couple cycles ago. Marcus Brady, the Eagles offensive assistant. Brian Callahan, Bengals offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak, we talked about him. Michael Flohr, we talked about him. Zach Robinson, the Rams passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Frank Smith, the Dolphins offensive coordinator. Cliff Kingsbury, and that's it.
So Chase Sanders says Caldwell led Detroit to the playoffs.
So actually that's what I'll say. If it's Kingsbury, they're drafting Caleb Williams.
Was Kingsbury on the list? Yeah.
I will say that
yes,
if it's Kingsbury,
he works for USC.
Right, correct.
They're drafting Caleb.
I forgot about him. That's the one where it's like, okay, if they hire this guy, that's a clear indication of what they're doing.
And look, he's a great name. I mean, like when you talk about a guy who's got experience in the NFL, was a head coach and was, calling plays and led a team to a 14-win season with Kyler Murray, developed Murray pretty well. The play calling got really weird at the end of it. He started to do some weird stuff, kind of lost his feel of the game flow from a game-to-game basis, and was fired. Now back at USC with Lincoln Riley, so the connections there are strong. Yes, that would probably indicate they're taking Caleb, which is also probably like if that's the case, right, Jake? And they're so hell bent on secrecy and not letting anyone know what they do, so they can build up the value of that first overall pick. If everyone in the universe knows that the ties between Caleb Williams and Cliff Kingsbury are so close, then you're basically revealing to the entire NFL you're taking Caleb number 1 overall, which could potentially raise the value of the first overall pick, because now everyone's like, oh, they're going to take Caleb. We got to give up more to try to get him out of there. So it's an interesting game, but then you wouldn't hire him just for that and then not take Caleb.
It would be really funny, and the Bears would never ever do this, but it would be hilarious, and it would be a galaxy brain move. They don't hire him as the OC, but they hire him as like an offensive assistant Because then if he's just like
He wouldn't do that,
like a
though, but
passing game coordinator or something,
yeah.
like
Boom.
or like assistant head coach,
Perfect.
then it's like, well, are they like? Are they gonna like, like that would be hilarious. But then all the conspiracy would start that Eberflus would get fired if they don't, whatever, and then Kingsbury just gets promoted head coach. That now I'm making my own brain hurt. Never mind. I don't want to do this.
Like, look, but like
I don't want to do this.
He's doing these
mental
mental gymnastics. This is what it is, man. But if you're gonna take Caleb Williams, like if that's your route, I want Kingsbury to be the OC because it feels to me like Caleb seems like very he's I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like he knows what he wants. And if he doesn't get what he wants, I don't think he's one to adapt to the things that he doesn't want. So there's a reason that the whole, only 5 teams and his dad's saying that, like, I think those things are true. So if you're going to do the Caleb route, do Kingsbury, do somebody he knows. But
if you do that, you can't build your organization around one player's demands. You can't
exactly, which I think is flawed. Like I'm saying that's flawed, but I'm saying that would be the best case, I think. Sure. But you're right. But that again, that's what scares me about Caleb is I think and I hate doing this because I don't know the kid. I don't know the guy. I've never met him. But from what we hear, which is very much, ambiguous and we don't know.
Smoke and mirror.
Yeah. He seems like he's kind of his way or the highway. It seems like he wants to be the center of the organization that gets built out around him. Whereas Justin Fields, the player who doesn't care, is going to do anything to help the team. And, and like, again, not anything against Caleb. If they take him, we'll see who he is. But that's just sort of the feel I get from him.
And I do think that Ryan Poles would be like, okay, like we're trying to build something here. It's not just one guy. Like I think, and speaking of Ryan Poles, because we've gotten a couple of comments about this in the chat, Jalen Johnson was named 2nd team All-Pro, very deserving. Kind of surprised it wasn't 1st team All-Pro.
Deron Bland got it over him.
But I think that, and somebody said this in the chat, like Poles has to pay up now. 100%. And I think they will. They were very transparent about that. They said Jalen Johnson ain't going nowhere.
Yep.
And I'm sure that the NFL told the organization ahead of time, they're not finding this out at the same time we are. They've been known that Jalen Johnson was going to be All-Pro. I mean, we all saw with our eyeballs, but I mean the official release. So yeah, I mean Jalen Johnson's going to get the bag, but luckily for the Bears, you have the money to pay that. So that's that. Congrats to him. Yep. Very well deserving. And can't wait to see what that extension looks like, or new contract, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, new contract. So well deserved for Jalen Johnson. True lockdown cornerback this year. I mean, the number 1 rated cornerback on PFF this year. However you want to interpret PFF's numbers and data, he was the lowest pass rating against in coverage. I think I saw something that his pass rating against in coverage was 33.86. And if you spike the ball into the ground 50 times, it's like 35 or something. Like
it's crazy.
Which like actually makes no sense. There's definitely a flaw in the passer rating grading system.
Because it's probably
interception.
The potential for turnover.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's a really hilarious. It's hilarious. But he's gonna get the bag and he deserves that. Any other interpretations you have? We'll close out with this. Like, did you listen to the whole press conference?
I didn't. I just saw most of the stuff that was on Twitter.
I listened to the whole thing. Just trying to pick out quotes and stuff for work and trying to interpret things that they were saying. When it came to Poles and Eberflus, again, a lot of like lack of transparency when it comes to first overall pick, a lot of keeping things close to the chest, a lot of typical Bears.
That's smart.
Again, that is smart. And
that's what any organization would do.
Right. And let's make it known that like this isn't typical Bears. This is typical NFL organization about like keeping things secret for the most part, talking about like continuity for next year, talking about how growth and all like you can't say anything bad about what they did in the press conference. I thought it was fine.
It worked out last year too. So,
and I will say, I am very impressed by the way Ryan Poles answers questions. I'm very impressed by his leadership in those moments. And even Eberflus was better in this press conference than he was in any post-game press conference throughout the year. I think after a game, he just doesn't know like what to,
I feel like he's like coming down from adrenaline. Like I feel like he's on like a pre-workout come down. Like like he's just like so like he's so antsy.
Yeah, no, literally. He's like, all right, and man,
Which I mean, I guess is like a positive thing, but like if he's getting that amped up for the games, but
yeah, no, exactly. Which is funny. The thing that stood out to me mostly about the press conference in general was Kevin Warren. I mean, unbelievably impressive press conference. When,
Well,
like,
I mean,
when they media train college kids, they're gonna show that press conference as like the example.
The guy was the commissioner of the Big Ten for a reason.
Right.
Like,
Good point.
The man can speak.
The man can speak in a public setting. That is a really good point. But interesting. But Mark Andrews returned to practice. I thought he was out. Did he like tear his ACL?
No, that was always. It was. No, I think he broke his leg.
Okay.
The thought was always that if the Ravens make a deep run, he could return.
Interesting. Good for him.
But I mean, Isaiah like is a baller, so like who cares?
Yeah. So like I think a lot of people after the Bears retain Matt Eberflus kind of diminished the idea that Kevin Warren is here to make change, right? That he's just here to build a stadium. If he was going to make change, he would have done. He would have fired Eberflus, and they would have been bold. I don't see it that way. Like I think Kevin Warren is still here to be a strong influence in the organization. Maybe he doesn't have, and I don't think it's a reflection of his power either. Like I also think it would be bad if Kevin Warren, like if Poles was all in on Eberflus and the players were on Eberflus, and Kevin Warren stepped in and said, "Fuck all y'all, bye, Matt." Like, do you really want that? Do you want that sort of quote unquote tyranny in the organization like we've seen from the McCaskies in the past? No, you don't want that. So as long as, and I know people get upset about same page and everyone being on the same page, and someone has to, interject if they think something is going wrong. But at the same time, like if his vision it aligns with theirs and he sees it, then we trust that. Then we trust that he sees it that way. And he doesn't have to just fire somebody to assert power and dominance. I don't see it that way. So I was very impressed by Kevin Warren. And again, a lot of things that he said made me think they're going to do it with Justin. And he talked about how close they are. And he talked about the growth that they've seen. And I just I just don't believe they're going to take a quarterback after everything they said and everything we know right now. Did you listen to anything from Warren that you liked?
Yeah, I
agree.
Yeah, I think I agree. And that's also part of like why I think not only the retaining of Matt Eberflus, is not the only thing that makes me think that Justin Fields is coming back. It's the biggest part, but also like the fact, like compare it to the final season of Mitch Trubisky. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace went up there, and mum was the word. It was like, we're not even going to talk about this guy. Like we're not taking questions about this guy, and if we do, it's going to be very blanket statement stuff.
Yeah,
surface level stuff. Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren are getting up there like Justin's a great guy. This is how he improved. This is what we liked. This is what we didn't like. Indicates to me that they have a feel, or at least they're leaning towards. I still think that the Bears could go either way. I'm not saying that they've made the decision, but based on what's being said in there and their willingness to talk about his strengths and weaknesses, indicates to me like we're going to work on this. This is a guy that we can continue to mold. We think this is the leaping point. So that's what that indicates to me. Again, could be wrong. I still think it could go either way, but that's just the feeling that I am getting personally as a person that has been watching and listening and consuming rumors around the Bears and watching them for the last 26 years of my life.
Yeah. But that's the thing too, is like, again, like, do you still have belief that things are different? Because that was our whole case the entire year, was like with Poles, who we believe is a smart, thorough general manager, with Kevin Warren, who we believe, who's been around in good organizations. And actually, okay, here's one thing too, real quick about Kevin Warren. I know we got to get out of here soon. He talked a lot about the Rams team that he had in 1999 before they won the Super Bowl. He said that it
was before they won the Super Bowl, but he was there when they won it.
Yeah, no, but he was there the year before. Right. They went like 6 and 11 years before
leading up to.
Yeah. So literally the year before they won the Super Bowl, they were not a winning team. They fired the offensive coordinator, and then they hired an offensive coordinator, and they won the Super Bowl the next year with the same quarterback. He would not have cited that. I don't think he would have cited that. Like, if that's your vision, if that's your plan, if you want to draw comparisons between the Bears now and the Rams' greatest show on turf team that won the Super Bowl, you're not drafting a quarterback if that's what you think this team can be. Like, you're just not. So I thought that was really fascinating. I read this comment.
Could have cited the Vikings, who had Case Keenum.
Good point, dude.
He was there for that.
He was there for that too. His Case was replacing Case started the whole year that year.
Yeah, he was there the whole year.
He started the whole year, and he's like,
it was the year before Kirk Cousins.
That was the year before Kirk. That was like a filler year.
Yeah,
and they took in the playoffs, and there was
and like everybody knew that they were going to sign Kirk Cousins when he was a free. Like
everybody knew. It was like way too obvious.
It was insane.
Minneapolis Miracle and all that.
Yep.
Matt Hepler in the chat. I got to read this real quick. Can we stop? He said, everyone on the entire league agrees that Caleb is the best prospect in 7 years. First of all, that's not true. Second of all, like,
I think most people I've seen a lot of that.
And Trevor Lawrence was the best prospect in how many years?
Sure.
Since
and,
Andrew Luck?
And this is being fueled by the video of the former Vikings GM that
Rick
came out
Spielman.
yesterday. Spielman, yeah, who was like, I don't even know what show he was on, but
he said he'd
like,
take him over like
everybody
except Luck.
Except Luck. It was crazy.
Okay.
Like that's what's fueling this because people are seeing that and getting excited. Like
Again, you can't get caught up in it. You just can't.
Sure.
Trevor Lawrence was deemed the most generational prospect imaginable.
Right.
It was a lock.
I do think
and
that
he hasn't been good.
I think he's kind of been getting a raw deal, and he was so injured this
Trevor,
year. Yeah.
Sure.
I still think he's good,
but has he lived up to generational prospect?
Right. I mean, nobody has.
I mean, Andrew Luck was the only one that
and
did,
then
and then he
after 5
retired.
years.
So again, can we stop with this shit, man? Like, if you're a Caleb Williams fan, you're setting him up for failure by doing this over and over again. Like, it's impossible to live up to that billing. You're not doing him any favors by doing this and saying he's the best prospect in 7 years.
No prospect is slam dunk 100%.
Never.
And Caleb Williams might be really good. He might be an all-pro, but there's risks associated with every single draft pick.
Agreed.
Andrew Luck's happened to be that he was going to retire and didn't like football that much. But like, Trevor,
that was a weird one.
Yeah, that one was, didn't see that coming. But, every draft prospect has warts, so to speak. And so, again, not saying that the Bears are for sure going to keep Justin Fields. It's just what we think based on what we've listened to, based on what we've seen, based on being Bears fans for the last 20 plus years. Like, that's just the vibe that again, could be totally wrong. They could trade Justin Fields to Atlanta tomorrow, which, by the way, this can be really fast.
Yeah.
If the Falcons hire Bill Belichick and then he trades for Justin Fields, they're winning the Super Bowl.
They're winning the Super Bowl next year. They have a Super Bowl ready team next year.
Yes. And it'd just be so insane. But anyway.
Closing statements on this. Look, people are real upset. People don't want to be a fan of this team anymore. People are questioning why they were ever put a Bears jersey on when they were 3 years old and all these different things. It's not as bad as you think. It's really not. If you get the right OC in the building, you'll be a 12-win team next year. You have to nail the OC, but the odds of you being a winning team next year are extremely high. Like, you'll at least be you'll be at least 9-8 next year. You should be, because talent will likely get you there alone. That'll be the expectation. The Bears will be just fine. They can win the division next year. They can make the playoffs next year, assuming health. There is a path to winning the way this is currently constructed. You can talk about whether you think Eberflus is a guy that's going to be like Bill Belichick and be here for 20 years. That only happens for like 4 teams, like Tomlin, Belichick, Andy Reid,
and even he got fired once.
Name the others, right? Like, it just rarely happens, and those are specific situations where the ownership and the coach are directly tied. Like, you cannot compare it. If you want to see the Bears win, this is the closest path to winning that there is right now with the way it's constructed with keeping Justin Fields. So if you're somebody who's complaining about losses, then you can't be complaining about the way that they're progressing and moving the organization forward right now. So do you have a closing statement?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's optimism, cautious optimism. I still think that likely they win 8 to 9 games next year. But you're right. The expectation is that you have to win 9 games if you want everybody to keep their job. So we'll see. I think that there's a lot of different ways that this could go. Nothing is for sure set in stone. We could wake up tomorrow and, like I said, Justin Fields gets traded to Atlanta. Like, something weird could happen that completely just makes this whole...
We have to wait till the league year's over.
Right, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, the other shoe could drop at any point. So we'll see. It's very interesting regardless. It's going to be a lot to talk about. So we'll monitor it. And if anything happens, we'll be right back here. But for the most part, love you guys, love the listeners, love the viewers. Thanks for a great season. Whenever something happens, we'll let you know. We'll be here.
We'll be here.
But I think until then, we're all just kind of in a holding pattern. Enjoy the playoffs. And as always, bear down and happy birthday, Kevin.
Bear down. Thank you, man.